Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Finish the Thought. Thank you for being here, thank you for listening, and thank you for taking the time to sit down with me again. So, this episode started with a conversation I had with a friend of mine. I want to tell you that story because that's where this thought came from. When I first met him, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, he was a dick to me, like a real dick. And I really didn't think much of it at the time. I was just kind of saw it for what it was and moved on, right? Then later, he got back in contact and he texted me to apologize. He was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I was a dick to you." And I told him, "It's fine, you're good, don't worry about it." He didn't understand that. He was like, "What do you mean it's fine? I was a dick. How can you just accept that?" And I told him something very simple. I said, "Because it had nothing to do with me. That was you. It was something that you were dealing with, so I didn't take it personally. And why would I? It had nothing to do with me." And that's where the conversation actually started. We talked about people. We talked about how he thinks people are complicated and hard to read. And I said, "I don't think people are that complicated. I think people are actually pretty simple. I'm simple." And he immediately texted me back and went, "No, you're the most complicated person I have ever met. You're like a Rubik's Cube. I wouldn't know where to start." And that's when I said this: I'm simple. People are simple creatures. It's people's interpretation of someone, meaning their own unableness or unwillingness to try and understand something that doesn't fit in their standards. That's what's making them, including me, seem complicated. And it took him a while to respond to me then. But once he did, he said, "Holy shit, I've never thought of it that way." And that's the funny part. I didn't even think about it when I said it. It just came out. It was instant. And later I read it back and I was like, hold on, that's actually true. My brain said it before I even realized what I was saying. And that's exactly why I wanted to make this episode. Because that's how this podcast always starts. A thought pops up, and that's where we sit down and we finish it. So let's talk about that for a second. Because I think this is where people get it wrong. Because we say people are complicated, but are they really? Or is it just how we perceive them that's complicated? Because those are not the same thing. A person can be very consistent, very clear in who they are, very simple in how they think and act, like me. But the moment they don't behave the way you expected them to, your brain goes, "This is not making sense to me. This is complicated." And that's not because the person is complicated, it's because your expectation does not match reality. So now your brain has to work harder to try and understand it. And instead of adjusting your understanding, you label the person as complex. And that's exactly what happened with my friend. In his mind, there's a certain way people are supposed to react. If someone is a dick to you, you get upset, you take it personally, and you hold on to it. That's the pattern that he understands. So when I didn't do that, when I just went, "It had nothing to do with me, you're fine," that didn't fit his model. So now I become complicated, but I'm really not. I'm actually very simple. My logic is just different from what he expected, and that's the key. Because what we often call complicated people are just people that don't fit the boxes we've created. So instead of questioning the boxes, we question the person. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes from. Because we're not actually trying to understand each other. We're trying to make each other make sense within our own frameworks. And the moment someone doesn't, we stop trying to understand and we start trying to label them: difficult, complicated, hard to read, when in reality, they're just not who you expected them to be. And I think this is also why I've been labeled the way I have pretty much my whole life. When I was younger, I was difficult, I was disobedient, and now that I'm older, I'm hard to understand and I'm complicated. I've always found that interesting because, from my perspective, I'm actually very simple. I'm very direct, I'm very blunt, I say what I think, and I mean what I say. I don't play games, I don't beat around the bush. But apparently, that's complicated because we live in a world where people say be honest, but not too honest, not if it makes someone uncomfortable, not if it doesn't fit the social script. And I don't really function like that. When I say something, I mean it. And if I don't mean it, I won't say it. It's simple to me. But because that doesn't fit what people expect, it becomes difficult. And it's not just how I communicate, it's in everything. Like, don't buy me flowers. I don't like flowers. Why? Because they die. It's a waste of money to me. They're better off in the ground where they can actually live. But people hear that and go, oh, that's complicated. No, it's not. It's actually very simple. Don't give me flowers. Give me something practical. Give me a pack of cigarettes or give me a Monster Energy. Or better yet, don't spend it on me at all. Go spend that money on people that actually need it. That makes more sense to me. I don't need jewelry. I don't need expensive things. That's not complicated. It's just different. And that's the point. Just because someone doesn't fit your idea of what they should want, how they should act, or how they should respond, doesn't make them complicated. It just means that they don't fit your box. And instead of saying, okay, maybe they're just different, we say they're hard to understand. They're complicated. No, you're just trying to understand them from the wrong angle. So the question is, why do we do this? Why do we take it so personally? Why do we feel the need to put people into boxes in the first place? Because at the end of the day, it's not really about them, it's about us. As people, we like things to make sense. We like patterns, we like predictability, we like to feel like we understand the world around us. So we create mental boxes. This person should act like this. This is how they should respond, and this is what normal looks like. And when someone fits into that, everything feels easy. But the moment someone doesn't, the moment they respond differently, think differently, and value different things, that's when it feels uncomfortable. Because now our brains have to do more work. Now they have to question, why are they like that? What does it mean? Instead of just sitting with it, instead of just actually trying to understand, we take the shortcut. We label difficult, complicated, hard to read, or even worse, we take it personally. We go, why are they acting like this towards me? What did I do? When most of the time, it had nothing to do with you in the first place. It was just someone being who they are, coming from their own experiences, their own struggles, their own way of seeing the world. And because it doesn't match your expectation, it feels personal. But it's not, it's perception. And that's the problem. Because the more we rely on those boxes, the less we actually see each other. We're not looking at the person anymore. We're looking at whether or not they fit what we think they should be. And the moment they don't, we stop understanding and we start judging. And that's where the confusion really starts. Not because people are complicated, but because we're trying to understand them through something that was never made to fit them in the first place. So let's go back to that situation with my friend for a second, because this is where it becomes real. When I first met him, like I said, he was a dick to me. And if I looked through that situation with the usual lens, I could have taken it personally. I could have thought, why is he treating me like this? What did I do wrong? Is this something about me? That's what most people do. But I didn't. Because to me, the most simple answer, most simple explanation made more sense. He wasn't being a dick to me, he was just being a dick. Because of something that was going on inside him. Something I couldn't see, something I didn't know about. And that has nothing to do with me. So I didn't attach meaning to it, I didn't take it personally, I just saw it for what it was. And when he came back later and apologized, that's when it clicked for him. Because he expected resistance. He expected me to still be upset, to hold on to it, to make it a thing. And so when I didn't, when I said, you're good, it's fine, that confused him. Because again, it didn't fit the box. And that's exactly my point. The situation itself wasn't complicated. The person was dealing with something, and it came out in a negative way. That's it. What makes it complicated is everything we add on top of it. The meaning, the assumptions, the emotions we attach to it. But if you strip all of that away, if you just look at what is actually happening, then it becomes very simple. And that's what I try to do. Not because I don't have feelings, but because I choose not to turn everything into something it's not. And that changes everything. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, it's this. People aren't as complicated as we make them out to be. What makes them seem complicated is our perception of them. It's the assumptions we make, the expectations we have, and the boxes we unconsciously try to put them in. And the moment someone doesn't fit that box, our brain goes, this doesn't make sense. But instead of adjusting the box, we label people. We label them as complicated, difficult, or hard to understand. When in reality, they're just not who we expected them to be. And here's the important part. Most of the time, we're not even aware that we're doing this. It's unconscious. It's something we've learned, something we've been conditioned to do. We look for patterns, we look for familiarity. We try to make the world make sense as quickly as possible. And there is nothing wrong with that. But we can become aware of it. And once you do, you start seeing things differently. You start realizing that not everything is about you. Not everything needs meaning attached to it. Not everything needs to be taken personally. And yes, I'm gonna say it again. Sometimes it just is what it is. A person being a person acting from where they're at. And the moment you stop forcing people into boxes, life becomes a hell of a lot less complicated. Trust me. So, like I always say, sit with it, think about it, and if you want, talk about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment, share your perspective, challenge it, or agree with it. I read every single one and I respond to all of them. Because that's the whole point of this, to talk, to think, and to finish the thought together. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. My name is Ange. This was Let's Finish the Thought. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I will see you guys in the next one. Later, Gator.